Hair is everything. We wish it wasn't, so we can actually think about something else occasionally, but it is. It's the difference between a good day and a bad day. We're meant to think that it's a symbol of power, that it's a symbol of fertility. Some people are exploited for it and it pays your fucking bills. Hair is everything, Anthony.
And so it is. About 3 years ago, I shaved my head. I was 22-ish, and I had long, luscious hair, and I was complimented on it all the time. Everyone was, "You have so much hair. Your hair is so pretty." When I would go to the salon, everyone gathered around and be like, "Oh my god, she has so much hair." And every room I went into, my hair was clapped for. And honestly, I didn't really understand it because I did have hair and it hadn't been a challenge. I didn't really comprehend that other people might not have as much, and this might be eye-catching. So, not that I didn't enjoy getting so many compliments, but like actually I didn't, because first of all, I didn't get it, and also it mirrored an internal conflict of feeling I didn't have autonomy, that life was happening to me, that I was being painted on before I figured out what color I am. I was being assigned things before I chose things of my own. I did not comprehend how people saw me. I couldn't control it, and mostly I was clueless about it. And it seemed like my hair had a much bigger stage than I did. I was frankly jealous of my hair. I wanted the recognition and the being seen for myself, so I shaved it. I did this as a as a monumental, symbolic, ritualistic of self. I did it as a thing for myself, in a relationship with myself, as a step on a journey with myself, which was cool. But the reactions that came after, and the relational aspect of it was crazy. I do understand that this is a dramatic action, and so it would invoke drama and dramatic reactions and responses. I just didn't quite anticipate the degree and the intensity of that drama. It was pretty entertaining. It was a lot of fun. No one had a mild reaction. Everything about it was so intense. Everyone either hated it with a burning passion, they would not look at me, or loved it and couldn't get enough of it. Again, it got out of my hands and became other people's. And on the day, my dating market stocks skyrocketed. But older people, more conservative people, were appalled by it. They were deeply wounded. Turns out a young woman without hair in my culture is not associated with the very happy images, but a lot with illness, with misfortune, with like something bad happened to end up in a scenario where a young woman is bald. So these were the images that they had. And one lady had such a frantic meltdown and would not stop crying. And after you would think I had shaved her head. After she calmed down a bit, my dear mother explained that it's a very shocking image, and that it's usually doesn't come from a happy place. If she had seen it in setups of misfortune, of illness, of disease, and so to her it was reminiscent of death, while to me it was an act of It was resurrection. It was rebirth and revolution. Pretty much everyone had something to say about it, and none of it was a soft blow. Some people were like had a wise stance, something like, yeah, she's going through her own thing, she's doing her own thing. But a lot of others would react to it. Some were intensely turned on by it. It just clicked the demonic switch of excitement and of exploration and revolution inside of them. Some kids were scared of me. And so vividly this time I saw how everyone saw a reflection of themselves in the shiny, smooth surface of my scalp. Deeply, hair is connected to a sense of self, to one's identity, how it is quite literally an extension of the self. It is your most loyal companion in your life. It goes everywhere with you, and if it could store information, which do we really know that it doesn't, it could tell stories. It could tell every story about you everywhere. It's always there. It has been everywhere you have been. No one has that much information about you as your hair does. It's a witness to your life. Again, as I grew up, I kept seeing how people related to their own hair, how significant it is, how much they care for it, how much time they spend on it, how much money they invest in it. And I noticed how men care about their hair in a way that I haven't seen men really care about their bodies and their appearances all that much, except yeah, so these gentlemen these specific group of gentlemen that I have in mind aren't going out to learn about their skins or about a healthy diet and about their hormonal health. They're not exfoliating and hydrating, but they are talking a lot about their hair, and they are caring a lot about their hair. It moves something really deep inside our core, and because it is a group of people who doesn't normally give this much attention to their appearance, one would think that it is something really deep in your DNA. Tim Ferriss is an extremely distinguished gentleman. He's a whole thing with the jiu-jitsu and the dancing and the chess thing and the giant investor thing and the huge most listened to thing ever podcast thing, where he interviews the highest tier of people in the world alive. And this guy, I swear to God, he brings up his losing of hair every other episode. So whatever story he wants to relate to, he'd be like, yeah, I felt that when I started to lose my hair. Yeah, I feel the same way about losing my hair. This like caught my eye as and brought my attention to it. In another event, I had two friends who had similar childhoods, similar backgrounds, similar interests, a lot of similar quirks, and in like fiery passion for academia and a very specific area. So there was a chance to get these two in the same place and put them together, thinking that magic will happen and so much science will unravel and come out of that synergy. A few minutes later, I went back and saw them talking about their baldness care routines of how often do you shave the back of your hair and then what do you put on it. And it was then when I noticed that they were both in fact bald. I had another bald friend who posted a story once on Instagram saying that bald is a slur and is bullying of people who are bald and you shouldn't say it. but it's, I don't know. And also he didn't say what else to call that people without hair. I don't know. What I do know is that these cisgender heterosexual gentlemen aren't going around and caring a lot about their appearance as much and as so dramatically as they are moved by their hair, which would bring us to the conclusion that hair is everything. When I was trying to calm my dear mother down after she had a panic attack seeing my bald head, I tried to tell her how it's cultural, how it has to do a lot with the images that you associate with it, that you've seen with the religion, with the culture and the background and the everything. How in Indian cultures and a lot of indigenous cultures, it's a symbol of femininity, of vitality, of spirituality, health, and just the essence of life, which it is. While black girls shave their heads all the time. So Indian women aren't going around all the time and shaving their heads, but for black women it's a different story. It's a form of self-empowerment, expression of the self, of resistance, of reclaiming of one's identity. It is incredibly convenient, and of bringing natural beauty to light. It was only after I shaved my head that I realized I was beautiful. And there is a story about enslaved women in Colombia in a camp in a like jungly space, and they would black women slave camp. Inside the camp, they would, I don't know, explore the grounds, and they would incorporate motifs into their braids that would map the area. So think of Michael Scofield's body tattoo, which was the prison's map, but hair and braid, and also real. So like zigzags would stand for mountains, and waves would stand for rivers, and in this way they were using their hair as a communication tool to tell what's going on out there and how we can get out of here. It's just crazy. In a lot of African traditions, or a lot of different traditions of people all around the world, braiding and hairstyles are used to tell stories and stand for social status, tribal affiliation, marital status, age even, and hair is often seen as a sacred extension of the self. Again, which it is. Long hair symbolizes cultural identity, spiritual strength, and cutting one's hair can be a sign of mourning or significant life event. And as we know, the Dothraki don't cut their braids unless defeated, and Khal Drogo had never had his hair cut. And as Daenerys went forward and conquered and triumphed, her braid would grow bigger and more elaborate and more ornated. So Sufis grow their hair long, and they see their long, unkempt, shabby hair as a symbol and as a practice of their devotion to their path of spirituality, to detachment from the material world, and to distinguish and distance themselves from orthodox, conformist, conservative religious practices. And it reflects Sufi's emphasis on personal experience and of the divine over the formal religious practices. And so these mystiques twirl and turn and praise the Lord with their hair swooshing around everywhere, which is pretty cool. So when conformity, again, is in the form of dyeing your hair and making sure that your roots don't grow out and see the light of day ever, rebelling that conformity would be not coloring your hair and keeping your natural hair color. So COVID had a huge significance in beauty standards and how we comprehend beauty. So before COVID, a little bit before that, makeup was very heavy duty. There was full coverage all the time, everywhere, and heavy eye makeup, heavy lips, and dyed hair and eyebrows, always. And when COVID hit, appointments were cancelled, and at home we were really, doing all that. And lipstick sales in America had a huge dive. Like, there was no selling of any lipstick. Even if you were doing some eye makeup, you were wearing a mask outside. So what is point of lipstick? And people stopped dyeing their hair. And a lot of ladies who had grown their hair white, who would before dye it, now are not doing that. They're keeping their white and gray hair, which was previously a rarely ever spotted phenomenon. Now they're just letting go. A lot of them, and it's beautiful because the hair does a whole thing on its own. Not that it's a must or that it's like, oh God, how glorious, but before it was not an option. It was so drastic, like as dramatic as shaving your head was keeping your natural hair color. Now it's an option, and it's a beautiful thing when one chooses to go for that option. And then thick eyebrows came into fashion, and makeup in general is a lot lighter and more naturally oriented, and gray is beautiful. In another story a bit closer to home, hair again takes the center stage as this unfolds.
Azadi, women, life, freedom.
Since I cut my hair short, I am free from thinking about it. It takes up a lot of less space in my life, a lot less time, energy, and money I put into it, but I do think about other people's hair a lot, about its texture, about its feel, color, length. I think about my mother's hair a lot, about my family, my lovers, my friends, how they relate to their own hair and how I wash their hair. My sister, similar to me, has thick, like she has a lot of hair and she grows it very long. So she had very long, a lot of hair, some gray, and I would braid it, and it would be so beautiful with the highlighting and the shading of the black and the white and the gray just together. It was so beautiful. But I hate seeing hair around on the floor and on things. I hate it. I pick it up immediately. I hate it. So she had very long, thick hair. So when even one strand would fall, it was very drastic. And I was always yelling at her and saying, "It's everywhere, keep your hair tidy, just get your hair out of my life." And she'd be like, "I can't control it, I'm gonna cut it all off, it's not my fault." And I would like viciously follow her with a vacuum cleaner and just like pick up hair after hair everywhere she went. That was funny. That was a whole thing. And then she moved away for 3 years now. A while ago, I was wearing a neck scarf, which she also had worn at some point, and I found a hair and it kept pulling and it kept coming and it kept pulling and it kept coming, which is when I realized that it was hers. And this hadn't happened in a very long time, where I find a strand of her hair. So I was in this scene where I'm picking up her hair, and this scene had only happened where she had been physically present in my life. So it really deeply hit me, and I realized hair as a perfect measure of how present a person is in your life physically. When you find their hair on your pillow, on your couch, in your bathroom, even in your food, how much it stands for, how entangled your lives are, where you're sharing the most intimate spaces and the most intimate moments, and this thing that is very personal to that person, that holds their DNA and all of their memories and all of their life history and has been witness to their entire life, is now part of yours. And so when a person leaves your life, for whatever reason, they take all of their hair with them. And you vacuum a few times, clean up a little here and there, and no more of their hair is to be found in your life. Standing for how much that person no longer is in your life, and in the physical realm. And they are no longer leaving a gift of their hair entangled in a brush on your table. So they're not coming to your house, to your room, using your hairbrush anymore. Or they're not leaving their hair on your pillow anymore. They're not leaving that gift, that lock of hair. And you don't get to get mad about it and be like, there's so much hair here, and vacuum it viciously. You don't get to do that anymore because they're not coming around anymore. And leaving little parts and traces of themselves in your life anymore. And it's cool because hair is also, as it is, your companion and your buddy in all your life, and it is the last part of you on earth, where a very, very long time after your eyes and your flesh and your insides and a lot of your bones have decomposed and dissolved and other things have eaten them, and you are food for your worm food now, or you've grown into a tree or whatever. When you're recycled, your hair is going to be there a long, long, long time after you no longer are.